Today we're honored to welcome Heather Ann Ferri to the show today. Very happy to have her on, talk about all of her expertise in the realm of water, right? Water is the very thing that gives life to this planet. And unfortunately, most of us are in the dark about it. We kind of like don't really have an understanding about it, or in terms of water quality, like very important things to understand and really upgrade our life in a sense. But a lot of us, we are carrying on trauma as well. Like we don't understand the ways that we're acting, ways we're being is often due to past experiences. And it's not until we become aware of these things and heal, we can get to the other side. And she's talks about this a lot and has a lot of expertise that we can learn from. I'm very excited to have her on today and share insights. So how are you doing today, Heather?
Anthony, I'm so honored and excited to be able to share my story with your audience today.
Absolutely. So I'm very curious to hear your story and how you got into, trauma healing, water, and everything you're doing to be of service today.
Thank you. Do you want me to share a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania girl, and my father worked for his family business, and part of his job was to work for construction, building, and specifically, he had at one point worked with the water pipes. And I remember very early on as a young girl listening to him talk to my mom about some of the chemicals and the concern of that. But my father came from a family business of a lot of trauma. And so he was fired from his job when I was 7 years old. That means he was fired by his own father. And so that split that side of the family up. And there was a lot of fighting between my parents. And obviously back in the early 70s, my mom was concerned about, what are we going to do? Who's going to put food on the table? And, this was not something I think she predicted, obviously. And he fell into a depression. I believe he was put on antidepressants at the time. And then when I was 8 years old, my father was working in construction for another company. And in the mornings, my mother would come into my bedroom when my brother was at school. So we went to two different schools at the time. He was older. And she would attack me from behind, almost choking me to death and screaming horrific things to me. And this started what became a Groundhog Day for me between the ages of 8 to 9, a pattern that repeated. And, it started, by the time I was 9 years old, I had a lot of brain damage. And of course, back then, this wasn't really spoken about much, trauma, childhood abuse. And my doctors didn't ask me any questions. I was extremely shy. I did look like I had a massive stroke, though, and it does concern me that nobody saw that. And so this little girl basically, hid under medicines and tried to survive a household where my mother was no longer nurturing. She was a screamaholic and a borderline, severe narcissist, borderline psychopath. And so I went into show business. I learned how to dance and perform to try to get love. Was very successful in my 20s with my showbiz career, which I talk about in different videos and in my book, Transcending Victim to Goddess, Part 1. I had, all these achievements, but I was a sugar addict, which is kind of like cocaine, covering up the frontal cortex of the brain and trying to not remember anything. And soon my body started to go through all kinds of life-threatening experiences that I didn't understand. And what my body was trying to say is, you're a soul. And you were spiritually violated. Like you were physically violated to the, almost to death. But you're a soul. And we're going to try to wake you up through diseases, through life-threatening experiences. So I went through a lot of stuff. Jump forward to I'm 35 years old. I retired from show business, came back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to try to heal my generational family issues. And at first I was thrown right back into show business and stage because I was good at it and that's what I knew how to do, writing shows. I was doing children's shows, like teaching health and education, which was a lot of fun. I was still tap dancing. And then when I was 38, my body, I was starting to do energy work on myself, meditate, and the water came in. And water education came in, and I started to lose my ability to walk for 2 years. So I've been through a lot of sicknesses, a lot of life-threatening physical experiences. I never thought I would have a private trauma coaching practice for 18 years if somebody would have said that. It's not like I went to college for that. And I think that's an important message for the audience, because my story can be your story in some sort of category, if you allow yourself to be, I say, God-led. Because I was always connecting to God. I was never religious, but I was always connecting to Yahshua, Jesus, Mother Mary, these names, in my own sort of personal practice. And the reason why I wasn't religious is because my mom was, and she used it against me. A lot of Bible sayings trying to make me feel bad and guilty and stay in the shame-based sort of like, I can be a predator to you and you can just, sort of that type of dialogue. So I wanted to find my own way of being unconditional love and light, but also setting boundaries and saying your behavior is not acceptable. And if you're not willing to own it, then I hand it over to the higher realms and to the universe. It's no longer for me to find justice, but you have to deal with your own karma. So I am definitely a deep spiritual teacher for those who have been wounded and feel guilty from their family or from church systems. Because they love to preach forgive and forget, but they don't like to provide a lot of tools. And one of them is clean water and let alone medical grade water. If you read the Bible, the living water is spoken often, and that's the energy of sacredness. And our water has been violated because we've disrespected Mother Earth, and we're disrespecting ourselves and our children. We're taking these generational patterns out on we're repeating them over and over again. And so I'm part of my family system of saying no more. I will break these cycles, and I teach that within my clients. So as I had this private practice, and I'm learning these sciences outside the box, the great story behind it is that 60% of my clients were medical doctors. They were scientists or doctors or therapists, and they came humbly to me and all over the world. And it kind of, at first I was intimidated because who am I? But then I say to you, well, I come from experience. I know what it feels like to almost be murdered. I know what it feels like to have head pain all day long. I know what it feels like to be over medicated and I can't think straight. And so I may actually, now that I'm fully, in my opinion, and I could say this for myself, healed from a genetic red blood cell disorder and from PTSD and OCD and childhood trauma, I could say, yeah, my toolkit has something to say. It has measuring marks. And even though somebody in the university isn't funding it, I'm not in with the in click, doesn't mean that it doesn't work. And that's something I voiced earlier today with another gentleman, is I think that the audience needs to know that, yeah, I've been hiding. Yeah, I've been working offline full time. So I know what I'm talking about. I haven't been online putting on a show or just doing videos to get your attention. I've been in the industry. I've been in the water industry. I've tested over 200, 300 different types of filters and waters. I've done 10,000 hours of research. I've helped save lives. I've helped move communities and families. I haven't been online. And the other thing too is when we look at America right now, there's a shift happening. And if you're here, you're ready for that shift. If you're on Anthony's show, you are ready to hear this, because the Epstein files were not a coincidence. 400 million, those names, they were the ones hired for the big book deals. They were the ones hired on the platforms, while people like me were bullied off of them. So I want you to be aware of that, because just because some of us aren't the names yet doesn't mean that we haven't walked the walk and we don't talk the talk. And I say that so passionately now because for a girl that wasn't allowed to speak to anybody, it has taken me years to have the courage and to get over. I don't care who likes me or who agrees with me. I come from a place of goodness. I come from a place of wanting to help humanity. And that's why I went outside the box to reach out to Anthony, to just that he was either going to say, yes, I'm going to have you on, or no. And I've had a lot of no's in my life and I can accept them, but he said yes. And you might feel that in your own life. You might feel that with your health, or you might feel that with your relationships. We're here to send a message on water, because believe it or not, when you're drinking clean water and a medical grade water, your life can change actually in ways that you can't even imagine. So if you're on this channel today, I believe there is a reason for it. And it's just to start maybe taking notes and doing your own research and obviously asking questions after this interview's done.
Wow, yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, a lot of things stuck out through there, but you mentioned like you start to build your results based off of all these actions, right? So it's, you're not just saying things like these. This is what works, right? And this is a proof, right? I feel like it's really important because a lot of times like we have a hard time believing things, but no, this is how it is, right? We start to shift our paradigms and things like that. Another thing, it's like we all have our own unique story, things that we overcome. It almost gives us this authority in a sense, but it's like you've overcome these things and you have this own agency within yourself. You have autonomy, and that gives you the experience to be of service, right? So you overcome your own story. That's how it's supposed to be, right? And you have to believe in yourself, to believe in possibility. So thank you a lot for sharing that as well.
Thank you for that's great. I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like all these traumas that we go through. It's like, man, we have to really give ourselves grace in that process, right? Because a lot of times I find we don't fully heal, a lot of us, unfortunately. And it's like we have to have like the compassion, understanding through that process, and it's a very difficult thing, as you know. I mean, it's like, man, like I feel like success is something we attract by the person that we become as well.
Well, yeah, and it takes patience, and it's for depending on what you're healing and what's going on with your life. I mean, I can only speak for myself. It took a long time, you know. There were years that there were incredible things happening in my career, and there were years where I was taking a back seat, doing a lot of work on myself, crying, writing, shaking out trauma, really just spending time with myself. And if there's anything I can say today is one of the sort of deep programs from my lineage that I broke is investing in myself. You know, saying I come first. I come first to take this time to learn about water and decide to invest in a water that, even, my family at first didn't get on board with, but later it ended up helping them when they were in crisis. So it's also, I would say to the mental health therapists and the healers and the doctors and all of you out there, just continue to pour in yourself because you're a service. And sometimes we want to heal our families. We want to heal the people we care closest to. But the best way to do that is just to be the example and heal yourself. And so I started to surrender wanting to help everybody else and started to pour more and more into myself. And it is not selfish to do that. In fact, it's self-love. It's a necessity that nobody else can do for you. And so I think that's one of the biggest lessons I can learn. And I go against, if you end up reading my book, I go against a lot of negativity and a lot of abandonment and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of what we would say dark situations. And I just choose not to give up on myself. I just choose to keep showing up and doing the meditations and doing and being on, I detox sugar addiction. I don't crave sugar anymore. Part of that was through the water. Part of that was through, the diet, not processed foods. So I believe in you. These people that are listening, I believe in you. And I believe that you can even go deeper because the more we have self-love, that people feel that, and it really does help your environment. Just that alone.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. It's like you are your first client, essentially. You're like, you have to become the model and light for what is possible. And you have to trust the process in so many different ways. Like you have to overcome a lot, but ultimately, like life doesn't happen to us necessarily, but it happens for us. And we have to make meaning of things in a sense, right? It doesn't necessarily mean like, everything's gonna be perfect all the time, but you decide that you overcome these things and you really kind of become a model for what is possible. Not perfect, but you become the person designed for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now you mentioned water a lot. Like, can you explain to people the importance of water? Because a lot of us, we just, it's just water, just drink water, which we don't drink enough of anyway. So it's like, what does it mean in our lives? Like, how can we think about that in a new way?
Sure. Well, water came to me unexpectedly. I have a dance degree, but even at the university that I studied dance, our nutrition class barely mentioned water. And I state this because as the doctors and therapists were coming in to my private practice and they saw this Japanese medical device on my kitchen counter and asking me what that is and it makes sounds and, all these different types of waters, what's going on here. I was like, well, what does your education teach you? So that's the first thing that you want to think about is what's your education right now on water? What do you think about water? Because when I really ask families and parents that do Zoom sessions with me, they get a filter they hear online. It's popular. They don't know much about it. They don't know what third-party certifications are. They don't really know if it takes out forever chemicals. They don't know a lot about anything. And that's why I created my free ebook, Water Matters, is to just introduce why I got involved in water, to see the before and after pictures, because I look a lot younger, which I think means something. My face looks different. You can see the trauma in my face. And water is essential not only for health, but I also think it's for healing traumas and addictions and, parasites and entities, because it's a cleanser. It was never supposed to be tainted with all of these contaminants and forever chemicals. So I started to learn through my clients, oh, they don't know this. And that's why I created the ebook. They are not aware of this. Well, we're in the United States right now. And the reason why I emailed you, Anthony, is because we're now facing some more serious issues with water. So the first thing you want to consider in your household is, do you have a filter? If you don't have a filter in the United States, that means you are the filter. And I want you to consider that. You are filtering out 80 plus contaminants a day, 3 parasites, and forever chemicals. Boy, you're requiring yourself to do a really hard job. Now, let's think of you having, sexual or physical abuse like myself, and you're already acidic and prone to cancers. Now you're drinking a water that has no filtering to it. Wow, that's hard work. So part of your anxiety and depressions may not actually be yours. They may be what you're drinking. So that's the first thing. So I deal with a company that deals with clean water, and they've been around for 53 years in America, and they're family owned. And I think it's important to say they're family owned. They're not big business. They have been pushing regulations and what certifications are. So we have certifications on our website, and you can go to a third-party site to verify those certifications, and you want to verify that your company's actually saying what it takes out. I will say this, it's shocking in the United States right now that we have over 20,000 filter companies selling filters. And to be statistically correct, I would say maybe 100 of them take out forever chemicals. So if you do not know who you're shopping with and where you're getting it from, you're setting yourself up. And for those who didn't know before this, I've gone into a lot of family units and businesses where they've had to get rid of very expensive devices, unfortunately. But they do that to upgrade. They make that conscious decision. And I'm a research junkie, so I'll give you all the research you want if you want it. But most people, once they read the ebook and start asking questions, they can see I'm a healer who's healed people, or helping people heal. I'm not a salesperson, but I am selling you something today, because I understand that if people continue to drink forever chemicals and toxics, we're going to continue to see the stats we do in healthcare and in mental health care. There is a bridge to this. And so what I started to see, so I work with that, and then I work with a second device. It's produced in Japan. It's been in their Japan hospitals for over 65 years. Their FDA has approved it after 14 years of research as a medical device. It produces 7 types of what I would call, from Japan, medical grade waters called electrolyzed reduced waters that do different jobs. And so I learned those waters for my clients. And that wasn't just about brain damage, stroke, and PTSD, which there are water protocols. There's water protocols for wounds, burns, acne, all types of skin issues, protocols for infections. So I have a private medical book, I call, that I give to customers only. And I keep it private because it's years and years, and it's my opinion. It's not FDA approved. So you have to, be your own pioneer and explore it. But it's got medical research. Every water has medical research. That means there's been a lot of PubMed research in hospitals and it's around the world. So what I started to see with the chemists and the doctors who purchased these two-part systems into their kitchens is I started to see results of things like a 34-year-old physical therapist who had a massive stroke, did a year of therapy and would have been disabled the rest of her life. Couldn't really talk, couldn't walk. Her mom drove her twice a week to me. 6 weeks on the water, her tremors are gone. That's a big deal because now she can think better to do more brain work, to do more energy work, to upgrade. 2 years later, 95% better, physical therapist again. So these are they're not quick fixes. You're not going to get the water system and all of a sudden you're healed because you have to detox and you have to clean out. And what it does is it helps clear your mind to be able to make better decisions about work, relationships, and how you're managing your money, what you're investing in. So yeah, I come with I did back in the day a lot of testing. I've talked to specialists like Dr. Gerald Pollack, he has studied 40 years in America, water, structured water. He gets grant money to do that. But this year, in particular in America, we need to bring up data centers. If you're not aware of what they are, you can Google them on YouTube. You can Google your state. And you can Google Erin Brockovich. I'm sort of compared to her in the modern healer world. But what I was telling Anthony before we recorded is, as much as I love her and I admire her, and I think she's a great example of somebody who went outside the box and proved some things when your heart is in the right place, right? Was those water situations fixed? Not really. If we're going to be honest, there's a great Hollywood film. And that film taught people something. When you think of that film, if you watched it, think about what did you learn? What did you know about Erin Brockovich? Well, you know she was a go-getter, but they painted her a certain way. And as a woman, as a sacred woman, I was telling Anthony, I would go into water business meetings in my city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with men sitting across the table that did not take me seriously. They would hit on me. And I say that's not the case now, but I say that because we are trained by Hollywood. We are trained by how they created that character for how to see women. I'm not sure if that character was authentically Erin Brockovich. The Erin Brockovich I see online is a really smart, classy woman. She's got a Buddha in her room, and different things like that. So I don't know, and it's no disrespect to her, but I'm just saying they tainted that sort of image in that movie, and it definitely hurt my career of trying to help businesses and families get clean water. Now we're moving forward, 10 years, and she's back on the screen. So pay attention to her because she has a website out. You're going to want to start to learn from her and really become active, especially parents right now, because on my Facebook page, Heather Ann Ferri, I've documented some videos, not all of them, of a Texas woman having brown water and asking her community and being jailed for that. Of Georgia residents having brown water because of the data center. Of West Virginia, I haven't posted this yet. The first data center, West Virginia, was flooded out recently because of the way they did construction at the data center. And so all those homes are flooded out right now, which is going to affect the quality of their water. Data centers are loud. They're very loud. So they're disrupting animals. They're disrupting the land, the vibration of the land. They're taking away trees. And they are right now, the bill's going to go to you. If they open a data center near you, your utility bill is going to skyrocket, and they already are. So this is proof. I'm not making this up. Research it. And the quality of water is extremely questionable. We should never see the brown water we're seeing, which makes me more confident about the company MultiPure I work for, because we've gone into third-party places in the country, in the world. And we have taken water that looks horrific and created it to be clean. So our filters are amazing and they're cost effective. So you're talking to somebody that's been around the block and has seen a lot. I've also seen, lawsuits happening in not just water filter companies, but obviously the plastic water industry. So the first message I would send to the audience, if you want to empower yourself, is stop buying stuff from the store. Stop buying those plastic things from the store. Any of them. Doesn't matter if it's whatever liquid's in them. Because believe it or not, back in the day, we used to have healing waters, especially in the state of PA, and I have documentation of that in the 1700s, and they used to eventually bottle them in glass. And that started the water industry, and I think the water industry in being a business, and it is a business. My second thing is if you delete plastic completely, to help your health, you're also saying that I'm going to now be active in supporting small businesses. So the two companies I work for aren't necessarily small, but they're not bought out. So as much as I feel like it's a shame we have to buy filters to provide clean water, have that upset you so you do something about it to start changing the system instead of ignoring it. See, when we're so traumatized, we can't think straight. So my father couldn't think straight. But I healed my brain enough that I can think straight. So now I'm communicating the problems that keep getting worse and worse because we need leaders to take action. We need men to say, so in the state of Pennsylvania, in Lancaster, there's groups of people voicing we don't want the data centers, but we don't have any rights to this. Learn about that for your local area. And you might say, well, they're not building it here. Do you want to see neighborhoods lose all their money and families and not have clean water? We're going to become a third world country, or maybe we already are, actually. This is your wake-up call listening today. I'm not trying to be fear-based. I'm actually the solution. I'm giving you solutions. And if you want to join my business, they actually want a side business, I welcome anyone in. I have doctors on my team. I have construction workers on my team. I have a lot of mothers on my team, whether it's for the multi-pure, the clean water, or whether it's for the Japanese medical device, or both. But you can't have any type of generator, ionizer in America without clean water. And this is where I differ from a lot of people in the sales water world. They will maybe disagree with me. I don't care. I will never sell you any type of the medical device without clean water first, because it doesn't work. That's why I work for two different companies. The basic goal is to get people clean water, cost effective, to empower them. Because it's not just about your brain. It's not just about your health. It's then about, you're actually going to save money after a year. After you paid that, you're going to realize you're saving money because you're not drinking all the other stuff. You're making your coffees and teas with this. So you're starting to upgrade with that. And then you're starting to say to the universe, I support local, I support smaller businesses, grassroots businesses that aren't bought out. You have to do your due diligence. You have to start to understand, because the plastic bottled water industry is a billion, possibly $1 trillion industry, and it's only that because you bought it. They're not going to change until you stop buying it. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a lot there. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, as you mentioned, it's like water was very healing in the past. Like the spring waters of the past, like all the ancient springs. Yeah, it's like very healing, and like it was very alive. Something that we're kind of foreign today in terms of water, but it's a very interesting concept there.
Yeah, I mean, so, doing generational healing work in the state of PA, I was surprised to find this brochure I just showed you on the Pennsylvania healing waters that existed. And you know, the victor is always going to write his own script with it. So you take in the information and you have to kind of process it. My interpretation, I'm only 45 minutes away from these healing water springs that don't exist anymore. But my interpretation is that the land was invaded, there was a battle, and the natives were murdered. And then people came in and they built, which we have pictures of a huge resort, a very fancy resort where people around the world would travel to. People from Germany and other parts of the world will travel to the state of PA for this spa, for the healing waters, you know? And they would bottle it in glass. And, you know, they were like, bye-bye animals, bye-bye the natives. We don't care about you. We now have your water. We have your land. Sound familiar? And, you know, we're repeating history. If you don't understand history, then you don't understand what we're repeating. And so for me to find this information, it was because of meditation. I was led to it. I was led to go into the little police office and ask, hey, is there any information on this land? I mean, like some deep history. Oh, we'll check in the back. I think there's a brochure. It's not in the front. It's in the back, hidden. And if you don't know how to ask the question, you're not going to even get part of the answer. This is because I have a healthier brain. And so as I read through it, I was shocked to find they even show all the healing properties of the water. This is what I teach from the clean water is clean water. The Japanese medical device is amazing. And it's just amazing. And when people learn about it, and it's a shame we can't talk too much about it online. And I say that because, you know, it's going to be threatening major big money industries. So, you know, you take what you can, you learn what you can, and you spread the word, you know, and you share it with the people you know. But yeah, this is all documented. And then eventually the people who were connected to the medical research were connected to the American government. And my theory is this is how they decided, well, we're going to make water an industry. And it is an industry.
Yeah. What is a data center, by the way? I'm actually not too familiar with that.
You know, we're all learning it real quickly because they have made plans to have them all over the country. And Erin Brockovich, if you watch just a short video, it doesn't matter what state she's talking about right now, it just came out of nowhere. Nobody knew about the data centers, and they're bypassing a lot of construction regulations, which is why we're seeing concerns about land quality, water quality, and sound. So it's connected, I'm assuming, to AI, but they don't need to be connected. And apparently, and I'm not the most qualified on this subject matter. I'm more qualified on the solutions right now for people who want better water. But I'm also just the voice of saying, Google or YouTube your state, Erin Brockovich, go on her site, or data centers, and start learning, because there's going to be one. There's going to be one in your state, if not a couple. And they are already causing serious issues, and people in the government are trying to stop this process. Like there's a war going on. They're trying to stop it, but there's no like the people's voices, we don't have any rights. And that's what's really scary, because once it's up, it's loud and it's going to eat up your electrical bill like you wouldn't believe. You're paying for it. So if we're paying for it, why don't we have a say in if we want it? They're saying it's going to create jobs. And my theory is there's so many other types of jobs we could create that would benefit humans. And I would like to benefit humans. You know, I would like to create the jobs with the sacred brain programs I have on my website and get those trained and have it sort of new type of therapist. That's a job that, you know, upgrades people's brains. Another job is, you know, not the commercialized water industry, but like this simple 53-year-old, you know, grassroots industry. Get a side job in what I'm doing and sharing in filters, you know, to help people get healthier, you know. I met a woman the other day and she knew a lot about this stuff. She's like, I'd love to do what you do. And I say, well, you do it first on yourself. You purchase this stuff and you feel the difference, so then you can share. And of course you can do it. God has a plan for you. You don't have to follow my plan. You know what I mean? I'm just the messenger. I just have some notes and guides. You take it and you go where you want. But they're saying that it's going to create lots of jobs. It's the billionaire club that's created this from what I've seen, and they're pushing it forward really fast. And I'm just separating it, as Aaron Brockovich is, from AI. We're not putting that in. They're huge. And yeah, that's all I know at this moment in time. And you can go on my Facebook page and see some of the posts. They're short videos. I don't want to put too much on there. I want to educate my audience, but I'm really looking for platforms like yourself to just get the voice out there, get conversations, get fitness centers, wellness centers to understand these water technologies and add them to their programs. And if we're going to talk business, it's a tax write-off. So we want you to do them because we want people to be exposed to better water. When they're exposed to better water, then they can make better choices. They can go, oh, my physical therapist is working with this. Oh, okay. Because what I found in my career is that doctors had no education, and they're not really allowed to be honest with you. I mean, if you go into a hospital, what are they selling you? Plastic. Okay. There's vendor machines everywhere. That's, and plumbers actually aren't really educated on filters, like the types of filters, and making sure certain things are third-party certified. So I love working with plumbers because they have one of the most important jobs. They can be a messenger, and so a lot of times the consumer is looking for them to have an answer, but a lot of times they know that the water's bad, but these companies are not being educated on that. So there's a big window of opportunity here, but my biggest concern is health. Once we lose water quality in an area, it's not so easy to gain back. That's a lot of money. So stopping the process, so telling your audience to get informed, to support your local or support your state voices in saying no to construction. We see some red flags in the other data centers that now exist. Those red flags need to be addressed now. They're big red flags. And just they want to bulldoze and just create all these data centers really fast, which is not good.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, going back to spring water, like people don't really understand the importance of like life itself in terms of water. Like, because just to give people an overview, like spring water itself is like the most purest, most cleanest thing you ever come in contact with in a sense, because it's gone through the Earth's hydrological cycle, right? Something that we've kind of evolved drinking. And it's rich in minerals. It flows through the rocks. It's charged. It's structured. And what people don't understand is it's actually a great source of naturally occurring probiotics. People don't understand life is actually water. Water is life. And if people start to drink that, it's like, oh, this is what life feels like,
Oh, that's so true. That's really a beautiful way. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I love nature and I love animals. And I wish we had the healing waters and, pure water, but we don't. That's the reality. And we just have to ask questions of not only why don't we, but it seems that the water is getting worse. Like in Pittsburgh in April 2026, they just put it in the newspaper that 5 million homes are affected by forever chemicals. And instead of them purchasing filters for those homes, they're just going to do studies on forever chemicals. Well, there's enough documentation. Like there's a lot of documentaries on forever chemicals. One of them is plastic. Like it's in our face. So delete that at least delete that. Go back to water. So I feel like there's this hypocritical, I'm going to tell you a problem, I'm going to tell you a solution, but we never really get to the full solution. Like we really get confused all the time as a society. And so for me, I'm here to just help the American people, upgrade. If you have reverse osmosis, we're basically going to change the kitchen part of your drinking water. And I'm going to explain why. So you can keep what you have, but it's not the most adequate drinking water. You want all the minerals that you have. What's the difference with the medical grade water? Well, 2.7 electrolyzed reduced water. You gargle it. It kills strep in 7 minutes. You have an ear infection. You put some drops in. It's killed in 7 minutes. This has PubMed because Japan is number one in healthcare. They're number one in wound care. They're number one in longevity. And guess what? They still have healing waters in their land. You can go to a resort and soak in a healing water because they respect their land. So that's why I've had to reference, I'm so grateful for their technology. They respect their elderly. They respect aging. They respect, and a lot of times we don't really understand that because of social media and maybe seeing a post here or there, we come to conclusions. But I really do know from 18 years of watching what people do when they change their water. You're right. They lose weight. Their skin gets healthier, their energy, they sleep better. And if you are on meds, you're absorbing them with the clean water better. They're actually doing their job. You know what I mean? Or if you're taking supplements. Supplements are tricky. There's a lot of things out there that I think are not made very well. So you have to be very, very particular about what you're investing in. And that's why I always say the root of wellness, health education, if you drink the best water on the planet, you've got 72% of the equation because you're mostly water. You don't actually need a lot of food, fruits, vegetables. You don't need a lot of it, but when you really have the highest quality of water, which is what I do, like people can look at my pictures online, website, go to it. Honestly, I look old. I was fat a couple years ago. And people keep seeing me anti-age, and it's nothing but just being consistent about what I do. You will start after a year on these water systems, people anti-age. And it's so cool to watch because we were never supposed to be aging so quickly with all your pains and your aches. You know, I used to be in pain all the time, and I work out. Not the way I used to as a professional dancer, but I work out and I'm not sore because I don't have lactic acid sitting in me. I have water flushing that acid out. So you could be drinking 8 glasses of water a day, but if it has contaminants in it, if it has forever chemicals in it, it can be blocking all the good stuff you're doing. And that's all I want people to realize, is it can be such a small shift. And, for those of you who have never had a filter, or you're like, get on my ebook, just, message me, read the ebook. It's made for you. It's 21 pages of information and some sites for you to look at and questions. But I can offer a 5% discount on the clean water and support Anthony's channel today for anybody that ends up purchasing that. And that's just, to get you started into the right direction. I recommend Under the Kitchen and Shower Head. I love Multi-Pure Shower Head. It's different from a commercial store. I want you to go on their website and read why it's different. I want you to understand what you're purchasing so you understand so you can help your neighbor. You can help the people you care about. It's $90 and it's portable. So my mother's, when we go to the gym, we put it on the gym shower. We're not going to shower under a non-filter. We're not going to go to a hotel and shower under a non-filter. Every little detail matters. When you shower, especially for my CEOs who go and they're traveling all the time and they're showering under a non-filter, that is actually the quickest way to absorb so many chemicals into your bloodstream. And they connect the chlorine with the colon cancers. They're connecting all of these. So, with those two, that's what I do first. And then if people want to upgrade to a medical device, that's great, and that's something you can share with your whole family and your kids. The kids are wonderful in understanding these waters because they are higher conscious. Children are higher conscious. And so this is their science project. They find it fascinating. And plants grow faster with the beauty water. 6.0 is called beauty water because that's the pH of your skin. And so when you're gardening, farmers who use this, their plants are growing faster, healthier, bigger tomatoes. Within the soil, of course, you have to make sure your soil doesn't have chemicals in it. So it goes hand in hand. So as you can see, I'm an educator. And if you have a company and you want me to do a little PowerPoint, I'd be happy to educate and explain some of this and how, it all works.
Yeah, or it makes everything better for sure. I mean, there's some things that you mentioned. It's like there's a lot of chemicals within the water. And before you mentioned, it's like this could potentially be exacerbating or kind of expanding the trauma that we experience as well, right? Because that makes sense because it's like the chemicals that we're kind of making our bodies up of is going to definitely dictate how we feel in a sense. And that's kind of unfortunate reality, right? It's like there's so many different things we have to be aware of within that. Are there anything that sticks out in particular when it comes to that?
Yeah, parasites. People don't think we have parasites. We have three, and I notate them in the names are really long. I notate them in my ebook that have been found. The reason why I love multi-pure is also anybody at any time can email me, and our water specialist every month does a free class just teaching us about what's happening with American water specifically. And education is key. So we're not somebody just trying to sell you something. We're trying to sell you an education, because without education, this is where we're at. We're heading the wrong way in America right now. So parasites, one of them affects the lungs. People who are always getting pneumonia, all they need to do is a parasite cleanse, right? We're seeing that with diabetes, actually. A lot of things can be resolved through parasite cleanses, but also one can cut through the blood barrier of the brain. So, I had a sugar addiction for many years, and it was the water, and it was detoxing parasites that, parasite is like, they love sugar. So they're like, when you're going in the kitchen, they're like, give me the sugar, give me the sugar. That voice is sometimes not your voice. It's actually a parasite. It's actually a living thing that wants the sugar. So people who have addictions may have parasites in them. And I would highly recommend getting a clean filter and doing a parasite cleanse. I do not do parasite cleanses. I could refer somebody to you. If you email me, I'd be happy to do that. Or you can find a naturopath that does it in your neighborhood. I think a parasite cleanse once a year is mandatory right now in America. It is in other parts of the world. That's part of their medicine, but we're in denial. I think we're in denial of what's in our water. And water has energy. We have energy. And when you think of all these chemicals and prescription drugs, they are affecting you. And so, for me, when my coaching started to shift and I started to learn all this, it was a requirement for my private trauma clients to get at least clean water. They didn't have to get the medical system. It is more expensive. We do have payment plans, but it's a big investment. You have to really be about preventive and all that. And sometimes people just aren't there yet. But they'd have to get on the clean water, because my theory is I don't know if half of your issues can be solved just with that. I need to see what that does first before we're going into. And plus, you're going to need focus if you do need to rewire ADHD, if you do need to rewire PTSD. You're going to need focus to do that. Let's clean up water and food, get off some processed food here. And then we can see life will be a lot easier to do your homework. So that's what I started to move into.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What's your take on structured water as a whole?
So electrolytes reduced water is structured water with a Japanese medical device. It creates 7 types of waters that are labeled and has studies done for each type of water. Structured water is interesting because when it comes out, it's got a little bit of a fog and a bubble to it, which is the antioxidants. So I am in contact with a doctor from Harvard. He's retired, who has done clinical studies on the Japanese water here to just show concrete evidence that it has the highest antioxidants possible. So that's really important for people that are struggling with autoimmune and cancer issues, because this is actually a higher quality than all the fruits and vegetables you can eat. We're thinking about fruits and vegetables, and we're thinking about soil quality. A lot of people nowadays, when they buy an organic apple, they have to eat 10 of them to get what we used to get 20 years ago with one organic apple. So our fruit, even organically, is malnutritioned. And so getting to, clean water and then a Japanese medical device can be a huge game changer in a lot of things within health. So there's a lot of other ionizers, generators out there. I've seen some, I've tested some, not a big fan. I'm a big fan of because Japan, the way they make everything and they make it all in a medical facility, it all has to be licensed. It's interesting. I'm a healer, but then I really value that medical education that they used. Here they have the medical stats. Our healthcare in America is like 38, 40. We're like last in place. They're number one for many, many years. So there's something to be said about searching the people who are number one in something. And since I am a world record holder and I want the best for myself and my clients, I think there's something to be said about they create medical things, and their process is much longer than ours, actually. So when they say their FDA approved it, it was not a quick fix, that's for sure. It's a shame that America won't look at the devices. They actually won't look at them to approve them. I think they should be approved in America, and they should be a part of our healthcare. And maybe in the future they will be, with more leaders stepping into that discussion. But once again, what type of money will that take away? You always have to ask that question. So this is about empowerment. Like, my movement is about just finding the people that want to empower their own health, their own family's health, their own community's health at this moment in time. If you are a leader and you're fed up with it all, and I think there's a lot to be said about this, this formula. And I'm sure there's other things that are great out there, but I have to come from lived experience. Like, I'm very, very particular. When I travel, when I try other waters, I can feel it. Like, I know. So I don't know, like, if I'm just used to drinking a higher grade water and that's just like what I'm used to, but I just haven't found anything yet that meets my standard. Because the truth is that if I found something better, I would use it for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to believe that you're worthy, right? You have to believe that you are worthy of a life that you actually want. That's where it all starts, right? Then you start to take these positive actions on a day-to-day basis. And that's how you get the results that you want, and ultimately, be of service and live on purpose.
Well, I love that you said that, because I was ridiculed a lot when I first joined, when I got these water systems and I was using them. I think my there was a lot of comments made behind the table with my family. I could hear them sometimes, the water thing, the water thing. But now, like I said, it saved 2 family members, I think, from some serious issues. I mean, they were doing other protocols I offered them as well. But I think, now I go 18 years later, we're having brown water in states. And I'm thinking, hello. I mean, we need some serious water education here. And it's painful because, big corporations own the marketing online. So if you see something that's very popular, you might want to question it. I researched years ago, hundreds of doctors and part of the Japanese medical device. They've all been either banned offline, put in jail, or whatever else. And so I see that as a marker of they're on to something here. So
For sure, yeah. You gotta do anything you can to make your dreams a reality. You gotta trust the process, and you never know who you may help in that process as well.
Oh, yeah. And I just want to reassure, so I went against everybody judging me. And in the end, I feel amazing. I've anti-aged. I have the best body I've ever had. My mind is clear. And so it's like, hey, I chose to invest in myself. Nobody taught me that. In fact, everybody kind of went against me at the time. And so if you're one of those people out there, follow your instincts. I was a people pleaser too. Don't worry about what people think about you or what they say. Be your own leader. That's my thing.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what it's all about. All right, Heather. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you today for coming on the show, sharing your story with us, all your insights on water and the importance of it in our lives, right? Because it plays a huge role. We may not understand how it really affects our biology. I mean, everything runs on water, right? Like our neurotransmitters, our hormones, our brain is 80% water, like our immune system, everything runs on a water medium, right? It's kind of a universal solvent as well. And basically understanding these things and implementing them in our lives can see a lot of improvements, right? Overcoming our own story, overcoming our trauma, overcoming our past to become the person that we're designed to be, becoming the greatest version of ourselves and model on life for what is possible. Thank you so much, Heather, and it's been an honor.
Thank you so much. And if it's okay, I would love to leave with you information for the audience so that they can get
Absolutely.
my free ebook, Water Matters. So we'll leave the link below. It's very simple. And the 5% discount code, if you want to use it or if you want to message me saying I heard you from Anthony, I always ask if you have questions, please email me them, so we can get them cleared up and you really feel confident about what you're getting. But that 5% discount code we'll put below this video so you can, use it if you want and support the channel. And the other thing I want to mention, it's a free tool on my YouTube channel, Heather Ann Ferri. It's 2 free playlists. They're for breath work. So if you are somebody that's struggling with depression or anxiety, this is what I would teach my clients when they would first come to me. And it's free. You just need a notebook and pen, and you can sort of get a taste of me. Do I trust this woman, her teaching style? I think it's good to investigate the people you're buying from. So the first playlist is called Breathwork for Leaders, Nervous System Mastery. It's 9 videos. The other one is Breathwork for Stress, Trauma, and Emotional Pain. And I will give those to Anthony to share with you. And this will just help you understand a little bit more about the teacher, the healer you were listening to today.
Wow, thank you so much. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. Again, take care, and it's been awesome.
Thanks so much. Many blessings, everyone.